Tangy Productions, one final update. From the 1G networks, which is an A to B single person to talk to on your newer cell phones coming out, 1G to 5G switch. That's basically sole proprietor to corporate send out, the feed or whatever, you know what I mean? The gossip feed. The reason in addition for those switches is you will have from batteries, bulbs, plus we're going to do our standard lifelines here. Lifelines will be conducted to a smartphone with option. That's 1G. I'm just getting the message across. These are my contacts list, and this is not a corporate venue. 2 is the 5G. This has got to go out to the public venue. So it's private sector, public sector. Okay? On a switch on your goddamn phone. The backs of the phones will have a removable back, and basically we will have what is called the most generic cut. The most generic cut are like these. Okay? These will be your standards. The difference is the back of the phone will be removed, and when it is the state standard phones will all have the same batteries. Okay? You will have 3 options of the same battery, same size. Okay? You'll have a good, a better, and a best. The crappy ones are going to be nickel cadmium. The better ones are going to be lithium ion, and the highest one will be a lithium ion with a high capacity milliamp. So what that will do is that will supply, you could have 3 levels of lithium too. You could have a cheap lithium that's not that high in milliamp. You could have a medium lithium and then a high-end lithium. They'll all fit the same slot. And what that's going to do for the state, that'll make lithium pretty much like a reusable, tradable candy bar here. Why do we do that? It supports a lot of industries to and from and back and forth, but for the state will be banking off that. That's going to be some of the shell out from some of the flower shops and longshoremen. Longshoremen are very, very private people. They don't give a fuck about a corporate. Okay? They don't give a motherfuck about a corporate. So in order to encompass them being able to get their stuff in, get their stuff out, militaries get their stuff in, get their stuff out, and not have to deal with a falsified corporate venue at a cost to them. That's why those phones will be issued. That will be a statewide standard, because the problem was it was desktop, it was laptop, it was desktop, it was laptop, it was smartphone. The technology war, we don't give a fuck anymore. Okay? Desktop builds laptop. Laptop and desktop build phone. Okay? Phone is where you get most of your news from, shit like this here. And I don't got the time to sit and just dilly-dally shit. I gotta hand out jobs, and we need shit done. All those jobs in accordance need to be able to communicate in a certain issue and value for infrastructure and growth. We don't have the time to fuck around and play whose dick is bigger in a technology market. No fucking time for it. It's a 1G to 5G switch, or I don't give a fuck in this state. The removable batteries, though, they used to have a little bumper sticker said ass, gas, or grass. Nobody rides for free. So it's ass, gas, grass, or lithium. Nobody rides for free. Okay? So you might be able to use your cell phone to call a ride, and then if you don't have a way to pay for it, you can hand them the cell phone battery, and it's pretty much as good as it'll be a new format of kind of cash around here. Because you never know, man. I've seen so many cars parked on the side of the road, and the problem is if they don't want smartphone knowing their information, they won't bring one. That can kill a lot of people here. So I can't be risking the actual death of people freezing to death out there. You will have a 1G switch. That means you'll be able to lifeline call somebody and not have to worry about your business's information. It's private sector. There are a lot of private sector drivers out here. This is one of the largest basins for private sector drivers. And critical necessity of those drive-ins and places. We don't have a lot of stretch for CB radio or anything like that in a long distance format. And if you don't want there's a lot of, like, let's say, toxic and nuclear and certain endorsements for you can drive some dangerous shit. You don't want to make a nuclear spill on a truck route that got hit. You don't want to make a nuclear spill relatively known to the public, because kids are like, oh, well, maybe I could run off with some plutonium from this truck that crashed. You don't fuck around and find out, okay? So those are why the 1G networks will be a switch on the phone with a removable battery. So when it's time to be quiet and just get the work done and clean it up, pull that battery out, flip that switch. Now you can just clean up your shit. Okay? You will have the option to remain silent during work. That's your Fifth Amendment. That is pretty much static and standard. Also, it assists in lawyers and court proceedings. That means you can be on your little corporate feed if you want to listen to legal news or whatever in government sectors. Then you can be on your private if you are legally writing and copywriting legal notation and documentation without having it stolen by foreign nations trying to impersonate your job as a lawyer here. We like our lawyers. Okay? We don't want them fucked up. That is a portion of Windows and its legal defense system. That has nothing to do with Windows Defender. The legal department for Windows is separate of Windows Defender. Okay? Those are two separate venues. The legal department are legal contract and writers. They supply business solutions. That means when this is doled out and this is handed out, they just sit there and they write the documents. And then Office Depot, which is another supporter of Windows, they print the documents. And then once those documents are legally signed, notarized, and sent out, those businesses can operate in that structural format for a certain amount of time until industry shifts. Okay? When industry shifts, I try not to make it so large and so ouchy. Sometimes it's ouchies, but that's how it goes. You know, sometimes it's a big one, sometimes it's like a little tap, little tap. I try and do the little taps, but people go crazy, man. People try and mess. This one was a big one. This was 10 years of government coming in here and just mangling shit. The past 10 years, I couldn't even describe to you of what the hell they did to my fucking lab and shit. They do some crazy shit. So, yeah, I don't even have a smartphone on for the time being. I need those phones rushed. Okay. I will operate one just for GPS and delivery. As far as the passive monitoring, that's the one thing that will be like passive monitoring without your option to turn it off. Okay, will be legally changed. That's why they fired so many fucking people in Windows. Okay, so if you're a Windows antivirus or Defender or a government entity, your legal status is pulled. Reason being, if you're a government entity affecting that for the United States, that means you're acting on behalf of a foreign government, which is not even your own legal system in the United States. Uh, that means you're just anarchists. Okay. Um, that's an abomination of anarchy. So anarchy is just non-disestablishmentarianism. Uh, so when I noticed that kind of network hit and yield, we can't be having that shit here. Maybe down south where that shit, I don't know. The south works differently than the north. Okay, that's a statewide boundary. But in the state of Alaska, you have the right not to be recorded, and you have the right to be recorded. So if you look at a surveillance camera and it just says surveillance camera posted, you know, it depends on if it's government or private sector business just defending personal properties. Okay, or for by way of like, I don't know. Everybody uses cameras different ways. I've been a cameraman my whole life, pretty much. Still am. Um, long ass time, man. It's a lot of work, actually. You know, I think about it. I'm working on getting to the new camera systems and stuff like that. Most of my stuff is pretty easy going. But think about lithium. The one thing I always say as a cameraman, I've been like this my whole goddamn life. I tell every motherfucker this shit. Don't leave your cameras on 24 hours a day. The only people who I would ever give a legal right to do that shit with, the weatherman. Okay, the weatherman. That's about the fuck it. Yeah. Tell me what the snow is, bro. That's all. Other than that, and maybe airports. That's about it. Airport security and the weatherman. Another one would be hospitals. You know, anywhere where there's someone who's going to be taken off, landing in dangerous scenarios. I mean, an airplane is an airplane. You know what I mean? And hospital is a hospital. You know what I'm saying? If it's traffic monitoring, I can understand that. One thing I tell people is if you are monitoring traffic, do not interact with it. Just simply report it to those who will interact with it. That means you keep your monitoring separate of your police. You understand? That's a separate monitor bank of separate to police. Okay? There are some people who are literally addicted, and I mean sickly fucking addicted, to like watching people's shit and then trying to convict them for everything. They're sick. They're fucking sick. Okay? Don't let those are, that's a very high mention of not to allow that shit. Like there's analysts, there's critics, and then there are some who just are straight mentally sick. Okay, what I mean? My job, like here's a basic example. Like girls cannot determine the difference of a man watching porno and studying film. They don't have that switch. Okay? There are experts and professionals in my field that I've tested. These are guys with cameras been in their hands 30 years. I know one I met the other day who knows the goddamn difference. Okay? Those are not common people. That type of training takes about 30 years. At minimum, roughly 30 goddamn years. You know what I mean? Just to have the basics in that category, to know if this person's just a guy who's doing his job or this dude might be a little sick and twisted. Okay? Most of the time I get shit because my public repertoire was, you can print any goddamn thing you want in front of my eyes in a Photoshop. You know what that is, right? That's the forensics department talking. Okay? That means I've seen dead bodies, I've seen cut up people, I've seen gunshot wounds, I see everything. Okay? My job is to determine if that is a factual basis for a courtroom or if it is not a factual basis for a courtroom. If they are falsifying evidence, if it has been tampered with, if it has not been tampered with, who is telling the truth most likely, and who is not telling the truth most likely. Okay? I've been doing that 35 years. That shit is not funny. When you're looking at bullet hole wounds through walls and all sorts of crazy shit, that is my department. Do not filter my fucking content. Okay? Every time I see these little kid hackers, you think you're funny? I'll just let you know, every time you filter my content trying to be a little Bitcoin miner or thinking you're funny hacking, okay? Someone's child who got shot didn't get a case against them. I don't find that shit funny. I find that shit ridiculous and gross. When you question common professionals, you should know the extent of that value to which your incompetence laid. Okay? That's why I don't ever give a fuck what these things tell me. I just do my job every goddamn day, and that's the shit it is. People hate the fuck out of me for it. Do you know what it's like to look at two photos and say, all right, well, the gunshot wound came from that direction, but in this picture, you actually printed the picture backwards because in reality, I know that spot, and the bullet didn't come from the other side. And you watch one person do this. They go, holy fucking, and then the other person goes like this, fucking, you know, like they're like, I just got booked on murder, you know what I mean? When you have a day like that, you will understand not to fuck with this desk. This is the desk that has to tell those people that shit. Not a fun fucking job. You know what I mean? People get very, 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 very pissed. When it comes to your forensics department, a lot of those people are very high up, very powerful people, and their trust markers are very extraordinarily high. Okay? Their respect just limitless to the shit they have to do, and I've already taken 250 million beatings from it. Okay? Those people don't die just to court popularity. Okay? If you want to call them out on their shit, you had better be goddamn serious. That's a message from the desk. Have a wonderful day.